name is Lucas Tyndale. Today is a special episode, a special event. We have an amazing guest today. She's going to share the story of how her son had to fight for his life, how her and her family stood on faith, trusted God, and how God brought them through, how God brought her son home. If you guys have seen the posts or followed her story, Sana Latrice on multiple social medias, Instagram, Facebook, she shared this story in real time. If you've been a follower, if you've been watching her, already know what I'm talking about, but today you're going to learn some things that you never heard before. While it seemed like she was sharing everything, there's no way she possibly could have shared all the things that have gone on, and she's going to share it today. All to the glory of God. Today is about glorifying God, talking about what God can do as we're sitting here on this Sunday evening or whatever day you're watching this in the future now, live or by replay. We welcome you guys to lean in. I suggest grabbing some tissues, grab your family, grab your friends, text somebody, tell somebody, reach out to people and say, we need to see this. We need to hear this. People are going through so many things, wondering, where is God? Why is God allowing this to happen? There's hurricanes, storms, people dying in military situations. So many things are going on, and everybody's asking, where is God? Well, God is still God. God is still in control if we allow him to be in control. And Sana and her family stood on their faith in God, and they allowed him to take control. They allowed him to take control over what the doctor said, over what the surgeon said, over what common sense may have said. They went with their faith in God. It may not have been what common people would do, but they trusted God, and we're going to celebrate that today. We're going to talk about that today. Hello, everybody who's jumping into the comments. We thank you. We appreciate you. Again, please share this wherever you're coming at this from. Reach out to somebody, text somebody, tell somebody. You guys don't want to miss today's episode. We're going to take our time as we walk through this today, but we're really excited. We do want to thank our sponsors. Our sponsors have allowed us to continue to do and grow this show. If you have not liked and subscribed to Lucas Live Media on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, please go do that. Or wherever you prefer to watch the show from, please like and follow it and hit the bell icon so you can get notified as these great shows come on. We have great guests. We talk about great topics. And our goal is to educate, motivate, and liberate. We want to teach you something you may have not known. We want to motivate you to take what you've learned and do something with it. And we want to liberate you, which is the opportunity to be set free. We want to show you that the door is open, but it's up to you to walk through. We look forward to this great episode. We want to thank our sponsors again. A few of our sponsors we want to shout out today. We want to thank Ed Smokehouse. For those who are in the local Canton, Ohio area. Ed Smokehouse will be once again open for 72 hours straight during the Black College Football Hall of Fame weekend here in Canton, Ohio, at the Tom Benson Pro Football Hall of Fame field. During this HBCU weekend held in Canton, Ohio from September 3rd through the 5th, they will be serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. A staple for soul food in the city, satisfying customers one bite at a time. Their address is 1009 McKinley Avenue Northwest, and their phone number is 330-915-6944. If you're in the local area, please go show some love to Ed Smokehouse. We thank them for being a sponsor of Lucas Live and allowing us to have this great event today. There's also a white party that will be taking place as a part of the Black College Football Hall of Fame weekend at the Cultural Center. We want you guys to check that out. It is Saturday, September 4th from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Again, at the Cultural Center, 1001 Market Avenue in Canton, Ohio. There's going to be a band playing. Hubs Groove will be there. You can go online to Eventbrite and get those tickets. Check it out. It's going to be a great time. You can go to officialwhiteaffair.com, officialwhiteaffair.com, and they're going to have a wonderful grown-up time with some adults just celebrating and having some fun coming together. You guys make sure you check that out if you're in the Canton, Ohio area. It is sponsored by the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It is the official party of the Pro Football Hall of Fame for the Black College Football Hall of Fame weekend. So you guys make sure you guys check that out. That is coming soon. And again, to anybody out there watching who would like to run ads here at Lucas Live, please reach out to us at ads@lucaslivemedia.com. Ads@lucaslivemedia.com if you're interested in advertising with us via our news or our Lucas Live show or other special events. We'd love for you guys to reach out to us. We're so excited about it. To everybody on here jumping on, I couldn't say hi to everybody, but I see you in the comments. My beautiful wife, Corinne Marie Tyndale. Corrine, thank you so much for being here. Janelle, Shamar, Dorsey, Beth, thank you. I see people from LinkedIn, Facebook, coming in from everywhere. Thank you. Michelle, I see you. Jasha, hello. Michael, my friend, thank you so much. Sharice, hello. Joy, so glad to have you here today. Zach, thank you for being here. We're so excited. Today is going to be a special time. Again, lean in, tell somebody. Deborah Martin, hello, hello, hello. Dorsey, we're glad to have you. Thank you guys who are in the comments. Please show your love. Please hit those hearts, hit those likes as you're watching the show. Engage each other in the comments. Share your thoughts, your feelings. Share what you're thinking as you're hearing this story. Engage this story. When you're watching something on TV, you can't say what you're feeling. Here you can. That's why we do it like this. You can say in the comments, that's amazing, or that's heartbreaking, or that's beautiful, or that's wonderful, or I'm so proud of her, or go Jameer, or hashtag, her hashtag is everyone will know it was God. Hashtag everyone will know it was God. That has been our guest Sana's hashtag for years, and God has continued to show her that he is active and involved and still blessing and working things out. Hello, Shanice. Hello, Kimberly. Hello, Linda. Hello, everybody jumping in. We're excited about this. Again, my name is Lucas Tyndale. This is Lucas Live. It is a special event here this evening. We're going to jump into our intro. We're going to come right back with our special guest, Miss Sana Latrice, Miss Sana Cotton. You guys stay tuned. We'll see you guys in just a second. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Lucas Live.
Whether you're buying or selling a home, the process can be stressful. Why not have an expert help?
All right, and we're back. You guys get ready for this great guest. Show some love. Hit those hearts. Hit those likes right now, wherever you're watching from. I want to welcome to the show our special guest, Miss Sana Latrice. Hello, 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 Sana. How are you today?
Good evening. Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you. There's lots of people on right now. I know a lot of people shared. If you shared, type shared in the comments to let us know that you shared this broadcast. The goodness of God, the stories don't get told enough. The news gets shared of all the bad things going on in the world. Not enough good news gets shared. If you shared, please type shared in the comments so we know that you shared. If you haven't shared, please do that. Again, if you're watching this live or by replay, you can even share it if you're watching by replay. You can still make comments if you're watching this by replay. If you're watching this years from now, the story of what God has done should live on. We read stories in the Bible, Sana, about what God did, and you have a story about something that God has done. Can you tell the people just a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you?
Absolutely. So it's important to know as we are going into this story that number one, I was a teen mother. So I had my son at the age of 18. I am a product of the foster care system. And I am a wife. I am a Christian. I love, 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 love the Lord. And I am a storyteller. And in the words of evangelist Erica Badu, I'm sensitive about stuff.
All right, all right.
So I'm going to make sure that I tell you guys this story the best that I possibly can.
I love it. I love it. Sana, I know your faith has brought you through this, and I'm super excited about us talking about this and the power of God. Everyone will know it was God. Where did that hashtag come from?
Honestly, it just came from my story of everything that I had personally endured through foster care, being a teen mom, being sexually abused, all those different things. And I knew that as I was coming out of it, people always used to say, well, you don't look like what you've been through. And I used to say, well, everyone will know it was God. This is not because of me.
Yes.
This is because of him. This is all his work. I had no clue that this hashtag would now turn into something that was so important for my son.
Wow. the fact that that's been a hashtag for you, it was such a powerful movement while you were going through it. I think for all of us watching and seeing the posts, the ups, the downs, the days, the doubts, the maybe not doubts, because I know I'm. It's interesting to hear how you didn't doubt, but the days where maybe it's like, how can I? You knew he was going to make it, but maybe the days where you were struggling for yourself and for your family, and just to rest and to be at peace and things like that. I look forward to us getting into that. We want all of you guys to make sure you stay here. And another thing, I see some people doing this. You can literally tag someone's name in the comments if you're on Facebook. You can literally go at Corinne Tyndale, for instance, my wife. If I said at Corinne Tyndale, it'll come up and it will tag them and notify them to come to the broadcast. So you guys can do that. I see some people telling their friends and family right now, you're tagging them so that they get the notification. Wake up, come on in. You don't want to miss this story. Sana, you were a guest on my show last year. And I found you. God brought us together. Because I saw you on Instagram one day telling your story, and you were in tears, and you were telling this amazing story. You were so passionate. I don't even know what show it was. If it was just you and a friend, I don't know what was going on, and I don't know how I was notified, but I was mesmerized, and I was like, "Wow, I have got to talk to her. I have to see if she'll come on my show." It was season 1. I was just getting into doing live shows. You came on my show and you told probably the most compelling story I had ever heard and may have still ever had on the show. As a storyteller, as we warm everybody up, what is that gift like for you? And do you see it as a gift? Has it always been there? Tell us a little bit about the storytelling before we get into the story.
So for me, I really didn't start seeing it as a gift until probably a few years ago. For me, telling stories is just what I've always naturally done. It's just who I am. I like to make sure that when I'm sharing something, people get the full experience of what it is that I'm sharing, because it's that important to share.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've learned as I've gone on this journey of storytelling is how important it is to tell your story. Oftentimes, we tell stories that are other people's stories that we just so happen to have witnessed or been a part of, right? So sometimes people don't get from it what God meant for them to get from it, because it wasn't a story to tell. And so I want to be clear to the viewers tonight. The story that you are going to hear me tell is my story, the story of a mother going through this storm that involved her son. Jameer will one day tell his story from his point of view of what has occurred. But this story that you will hear tonight is my story.
And I love that. And this is what's made it so emotional for me, as you and I have talked, is as a parent, one of the greatest fears, and I don't believe God wants us walking in fear, but one of the greatest fears that most parents have is something happening to one of their children. I think we understand that our parents will may transition before us. We may lose friends. We may lose other family members, but your children are your children, and they're so precious. And we know their story, and we remember every birthday, and we remember all those things. So the thought that something might happen to them is one of the thoughts that most parents never want to think about. And I think it's so important for us to highlight, because in your story today, you're going to show the power of covering as well. That while your son, 18 years old or not, was uncovered in that he was not in his mind to make choices, you were still his spiritual covering. You and your husband were able to stand on his behalf and go to God. You and your family were able to stand and go to God. And I look forward to you talking more about that. But I want us to get into it. Sana, if you could start with us with that evening. How was the day going? I tell us where this all began.
So to tell you where this all began, I will start by saying this began literally 6 months before it actually happened. Wow. There were things that God was doing in my family's life 6 months prior, starting with me finding my birth family. And the Lord had began to speak to me about just family and some shifting that was about to happen in my life. And normally when he reveals things to me, he reveals pretty much a good portion, so I know where I'm going. But this time was different. It was like he was telling me that I was shutting things down in my life, but he wasn't telling me why. And so on in May, my husband had lost his brother unexpectedly. So this was on May 26th. So I'm painting this picture so you can understand where we were.
Yes.
So May 26th, my husband loses his older brother unexpectedly out of nowhere. So we were coming into the month of June, mourning still the loss of my husband's brother and trying to make sense of what had just occurred. So June 22nd, actually I'll start June 21st.
Okay.
I was in prayer June 21st in the morning in my living room, and I had begun just praying like I normally do, but I began to pray fervently over my children. We have two children, Jameer, who's 18, and our daughter Janai, who's 13. Teenagers. I had Jameer when I was 18. And so I was really just praying that God would give him and Janai their own experience with him. And that they would get to know him on their own. So June 22nd comes around. It's about maybe 5 o'clock in the evening, and my husband and I are laying in the bed. My husband works third shift, so this is normally his time to sleep before he's getting up to head to work. So he's laying in the bed. Jameer works at a store, and so he works from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday. And so he's getting ready to go to work. So he comes in the room and he's like, "All right, Mom, I'm about to leave to go to work." And normally, we'll bring him or someone will bring him because he has his driver's permit, but he did not yet have his license. So one of us will bring him. So he gets in the room and he's like, "I'm going to head out to work. I'll see you when I get back." And I said, "Well, hold on. Daddy's about to take you to work." And he goes, "No, Mom, I'm all set. I have a ride." And so I said, "All right." And he said, "I love you. I'll see you later." And I said, "Okay." And he walked out the door. So probably about 7 o'clock, I get a news alert on my phone. And the news alert says there's been a car accident on Route 9 in Middletown.
And you live in what state?
And I live in Middletown, Connecticut.
Middletown, Connecticut. Okay.
This accident happened right here in my town. And so I said, "Man, God, I hope that's not Jameer."
So you're looking at your cell phone like many of us. A news alert comes up and says there's an accident in your town on the highway. Your son has recently left for work, but it doesn't have to be him. There's plenty of people on the road, but something inside of you, that thought came across your mind.
It should not have been him because by this time he should have already been at work. It's 7 o'clock. He should have already been at work. So it should not have been him. And so when I said that, something in my heart knew it was him. I knew it was him. And I can't explain it, but I just felt it. But I went on, I'm watching TV, my husband sleep. So about an hour and a half later, maybe we're around 9 o'clock, we get a knock on the door. And my husband was asleep, so he jumps up out of his sleep, like, what's going on?
Right.
And I jump up, and my daughter's like, "Mom, there's someone at the door, and they're saying Jameer." And I said, "Well, tell them Jameer's not here. He's at work." And she said, "No, Ma, you got to come to the door. It's the police." So I'm throwing clothes on and I get to the door, and before the officer said anything, I just looked him in the face and I said, "It's my son, isn't it? He was in the accident." And he said, "Yes." Now my husband is confused because he was asleep. Right. So he didn't hear the news alert. He didn't, any of that. So he's looking at me like, "What accident? What are you talking about?" And I'm saying, now by this point, I'm screaming, right? I'm like, "There's an accident, And so I said, "Where's he at? Is he alive?" And the officer said, "I don't have that information." So I need y'all to understand, I'm a Christian and I love the Lord. But when you tell me my son was in an accident and you don't have any information as to if he's alive, everything went out the window.
Mm.
Started cussing him out.
The police
Like,
officer. You're
the police
screaming at him now
like,
because he can't give you answers.
you don't have information. You don't come to someone's house and knock. This is what I'm
Right.
saying. You don't
Wow.
knock on someone's door and can't tell them if their child is alive. Like, I'm going off. He's telling us you have to call a number. We call the number puts us on hold. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm grabbing my keys, heading to the car because now I'm going somewhere. At this point, we don't know where he is. We don't know what hospital. Josh, my husband, finally gets through to the dispatch people and they tell us that he's at Hartford Hospital in Connecticut. We're asking, is he alive? They're telling us, we don't know. We can't tell you that information. I immediately call one of I call my god sister and I tell her, Jameer's been in an accident. I need you to call everyone. And she just knows who everyone is. So she begins calling. And then I call my aunt, who I literally just met in January, right?
Wow.
From my birthday.
Right.
I call my aunt, who has become like a mother to me in the last 6 months. And I'm screaming. Like, she doesn't know what's going on. She lives in North Carolina. I'm like screaming, trying to tell her. And she stayed on the phone with me the whole way to Hartford Hospital. And I just cried. I screamed. So we get to the hospital and, we pull up to the emergency room. Now, I need y'all to know we're in the middle of COVID, right? So there's still COVID precautions that you have to go through in the hospital and all that stuff. So we pull up to the emergency room and, we go in and the gentleman is like, oh, okay, I need to take your temperature. So I'm like, temperature? My son was in I don't care about your temperature, your COVID, your tell me where my son is.
Right.
And
right now.
The security guard comes out and he's like, ma'am, sir, you got to move your car. You got to do this. You got to do that. And so I'm literally in the emergency room and I'm that woman that we all talk about when we in emergency room and you see somebody acting a fool. Mm-hmm. That was me, right?
Would have been me too.
That's acting a fool.
Yes.
Where's my son? I'm flipping out. The people are looking. Everybody's looking at us. Josh is saying, calm down, babe. Calm down. No. Where's my son? Mm-hmm. And so finally a doctor comes out and she gets us and she brings us to a room and she says, are you the parents of Jameer Hamilton? And I said, yes, we are. I said, is my son alive? I just need to know, is my son alive? And she said, he is for now.
Wow.
You don't tell somebody that their child is alive for now.
What does that even mean? So Sana, so this one already, breathtaking. And thank you guys who are commenting. Thank you guys. Engage this conversation. You guys are doing great. Keep engaging this. Let's experience this experience together. You are that mother in that moment, that parent, because I'd be doing it too, coming into the emergency room. First of all, the police didn't know if he was dead or alive. He's in this major accident that was big enough to be some type of news. You're rushing into the emergency room. They're trying to take your temperature and go through COVID protocols. They're worrying about other people's life and death based on an illness. And you're saying, I don't even know the status of my son. I don't know if he's really okay. Where is he at? I know he's here, but I need to know more. And I need to be with my son. Let me through. And you're fighting your way through. This is your heart. Your heart's pounding. Your mind's racing. Help us feel your sweat. What are you feeling? And your husband, Josh, and I give him so much credit. How are you two together engaging this experience?
So Josh is very laid back. He's always laid back. He is definitely the calm to my storm. Okay. So I am freaking out. Nobody is off limits at this point. I don't care if you're the doctor. I don't care if you're the surgeon. I don't care who you are. Until you can give me information about my child, you can get it too. Is the mindset that I was in. Right. You can get it too.
Right.
And so the doctor who was an African American doctor, that really bothered me. It bothered me because as African American women, y'all know how we are about our Black sons.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you to look another Black woman, a mother, in her face with no hope and just tell me that my son is alive for now, that was a problem for me.
That
And so
yes.
um she, I immediately started, screaming when she said that because of the way in which she said it. And so she went on to say that he arrived to the hospital alert.
Mm.
And he was alert when he arrived to the hospital. He had asked for his mom.
Mm.
And he went into almost like cardiac arrest. And so they rushed him into surgery because he had a ruptured aortic valve.
Mm.
And so they had to immediately rush him into surgery. And so when we got there, he had just gotten into surgery. And so now we have to wait. And so they bring us upstairs to a waiting room and on the 5th floor. I say that because that's important. So it's the 5th floor. They bring us to this waiting room. And I'm sitting there. Josh says, all right, babe, I'm going to go and move the car because the car's still sitting in the front of the hospital. Now, can't nobody pull up because our car is parked in front of the hospital. And so he goes, I'm going to go, move the car because Josh is a very gracious man. For me, that car would have stayed there until
Right.
my son was discharged for all I care.
Right.
And so he leaves to go do that. And while he's gone, a doctor comes to meet me and he's saying, he's going to be in the surgery. It could be some hours. We don't know, if he's going to make it through the surgery. Is there anyone we can call? And I'm saying, my family's on the way. My husband went downstairs, we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so we begin to wait. And so during this time, all of our family starts coming up. Jameer's friends start coming up. And now I need you to know that we are in the time of social media, right?
Right.
So children with social media immediately, no one knows what's really going on, but they start posting things like rest in peace, Jameer.
Mm.
And so I'm saying to my god sister, who had taken my phone by this point because everyone was calling, and she makes a post on Facebook saying, please do not make any post about Jameer at this time. Because Jameer is very much alive, right? He might be in surgery, but he's alive. And so for me, that was important. The moment that doctor told me he's alive, to me, death wasn't an option.
Ooh. Wow.
So in that moment is when my faith started to kick in.
Okay.
Now, how
Sana, death wasn't an option. Okay, I want to talk about that for a second. So many people believe in God, but they don't believe that life and death is an option. I mean, they don't believe it's anything that they can control. They can say, "I'm not going to drink and drive. I'm going to wear my seatbelt. I'm not going to do reckless behavior. I'm not going to do drugs. I'm not going to." They may say those things that are just scientifically safe things, statistically safe things, but most people don't really believe that the scriptures talks about choosing life. Like life and death are before you. Choose life, choose to live. That we have an ability to actually engage life. And so many people are living, unfortunately, of all ages, waiting to die, not hoping to die. Everybody wants to go to heaven. As they say, nobody wants to die first, although we assume that after this life is the better life. Yet we struggle with this. And the fact that you've said this, and this is not the first time I heard you say that, to you, death was not an option. It was not something you were willing to entertain. You were not willing to entertain the enemy's thoughts because the enemy is in our thoughts. The greatest oppression is in our mind. You were not willing to engage that thought. You're like, no, my son shall live. He will live and not die. As we read that scripture, and we're like, they will live and not die. But then we go through things with our family members and our love and ourselves, more importantly, and we're fearing death. And we actually often have more faith in death than life. It is like the scripture doesn't say, and I know it says, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. But we live our lives as though life is totally out of control and greater is the enemy and we should be so afraid of the enemy and our lives can be snatched away at any second. You stood in the gap for your son and you believed that death was not an option. Sana, just tell us a little bit more about that entire concept. Had you ever even thought about having that authority? What was running through your mind when you said death is not an option?
For me, death was not an option for my child because I know how I have served the Lord.
Yes.
I know how I have poured
Mm.
out and I have given to many people. And so there was no way that God was going to take from me
Yes.
someone who I needed. So God, this is not an option. We're not going to do death. We're not going to do that because I've served you.
Yes.
I've loved you. I've honored you. And I will serve and I will honor you through this. But you got to keep my son alive.
Yes.
And so for me, death wasn't an option. Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was scared. I was scared out of my mind. This was my greatest nightmare as a mother, is to be in this position. I have been a helicopter mom for 18 years. And just when I started letting my foot up off the brake a little bit, here comes my greatest nightmare. And so I knew that the enemy had it out for me. And this is the thing y'all have to understand. When you are the generational curse breaker in your family,
wow.
When the enemy cannot get to you, he's getting to anything and everyone that is attached to you, to you. I had just experienced 6 months of the greatest time of my life in finding my birth family that I had been looking for my whole life. Wow. So I was literally floating on a cloud of joy for 6 months. Wow. The enemy was mad. He was scared.
Yes.
And so he came to disrupt my life. And when the enemy comes to attack, he don't play fair. He's not gonna just, cause you to be sick in the bed. He's coming to steal, kill and destroy. And that's what this was. And so I had to recognize that immediately. This is an attack. So when you are being attacked, what do? You fight.
Yes.
You fight.
Yes.
I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD, but I have faith.
Yes.
And that is greater than any degree that you can get.
Woo! I love it. I love it. I love it. Sana, I need you to hold the story right there. We have to jump to our sponsors really quick. Everybody who's been here, I want to thank you guys for your engagement. I want to thank you for your comments. I want to thank you for leaning in, listening up, open your hearts, open your minds. Thank you for tagging your family members and friends. You're not doing it for us. I hope you're doing it for them. Don't tag somebody because we need more views. We don't need more views. God needs more views. The people need to see God. God doesn't even need views. We need to see God. And it says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I hope that you come here today with a pure heart. If you're somebody out there who's struggling in their faith, I hope that you're listening with a pure heart. Clean your lenses, cleanse your heart. Maybe you've been seeing God through dirty lenses because of all the things going on in the world. Maybe you lost a loved one. Maybe somebody out there is watching this and they lost their son and they're not so happy to hear that Sana's son is still alive. We want to encourage you today that God hasn't forgotten about you. God is not throwing you away. God is still engaging you. God is still engaging your child for that matter. God is not done. Okay, so I want to encourage somebody out there. I want to thank you guys again. Stay tuned. We're going to go to these brief sponsors. We want to thank our local community here in Stark County, Ohio area. These are local sponsors. We want to thank them. To people who are watching this from around the country, around the world, please stay tuned. If you're here, check out these great sponsors. Consider engaging these businesses. You guys don't want to go anywhere. There's so much more that he went through. And we may even get a special appearance from Jameer himself. You guys stay tuned. We'll see. But you guys, we want you guys to stay right here. We'll be right back.
Whether you're buying or selling a home, the process can be stressful. Why not have an expert help you take the guesswork out? Brianna Lehman, realtor at Keller Williams Legacy Group, treats all of her clients as if they're her only one. She works diligently to ensure that every real estate transaction is stress-free and pleasant. She builds lasting relationships with her clients because her job does not end when the deal does. Contact Brianna today to discuss your buying or selling options at 330-265-9079.
Are you looking to give your vehicle a luxury upgrade? Look no further, we have just the right touch. Flawless Touch Window Tinting has professional technicians who will enhance the appearance of your vehicle through window tinting, auto detailing, or audio installation while maintaining the integrity of your vehicle. To inquire or schedule your appointment, call or text 234-410-6857. Flawless Touch Window Tinting, professional installation with affordable pricing.
At Epitomize University, we can guarantee success because we know the keys that make success predictable. Dr. Anthony Roman personally walks people through this process at Epitomize University. This year, his mission is to help several people make six figures. We're offering a special price of $100 a month to learn in a live virtual class instructed by Dr. Roman himself. Class begins on Monday, May 17th. So take the first step of completely changing your life this year by signing up today at successepitomize.com.
Thank you, guys, and we're back. Again, you're watching Lucas Live. My name is Lucas Tyndale. We're here with Sana Latrice. Sana Cotton, she is here. We're so excited. Jameer Hamilton, her son, was in a near-fatal accident. He is here in the comments. Jameer, thank you so much for even being here, engaging with us here in the comments. There were people praying for you, I'm sure, from all over the world. I know there was a large number of people in Ohio. I'm here in Ohio, a place you may have never been to. And we were all talking about this story. We were all praying for you. We were all thinking of you. It was, I don't even know if you can imagine the story that your mother was telling, Jameer, to keep us aware of what was going on and always showing us her transparent vulnerability while showing God engaging her and comforting her and working with her as her and your family and friends came together in agreement that you would live and not die. So thank you so much, Jameer, for being here. We may even see you for a second if you're up to it. We'd appreciate that. So Sana, go ahead and pick up the story. You've been through all this emergency room. Your son's alive. The doctor says, I don't know how long. I mean, unbelievable stuff. Things that parents would never want to hear. And in one night, you've already heard multiple things that no parent would ever want to hear. And yet you're still fighting, still pushing through, still trying to hold it together. Now, everybody, you guys have to know, this story plays out over 30 days. We're still early in the story. So much happened. Okay. COVID is a part of this story. So many other injuries and so many things went on that are just almost unbelievable. And some might think unbearable, but with the help of God, you were able to stand strong. Sana, go ahead and continue your story.
So we are waiting for what feels like hours for Jameer to come out of surgery. And probably around 2:30 a.m., we get the nurses, they come downstairs and they say, you can come upstairs to see him. And so we go upstairs, my husband and I, to see Jameer for the first time. We walk into the ICU and he's laying there. And when I look at this in hindsight, I realize that they had almost prepared Jameer for us to see him as if this would be the last time that we would see him. Wow. So we walk into the ICU and he is covered completely up to his neck. They have him covered around his head. He's on a ventilator. And that's really all you see is the front part of his face and the ventilator, and everything else is covered up. And I just start praying over him and kissing his forehead and just telling him that I need him to fight. Jameer, you're alive. I need you to fight.
Yes.
And, you often hear that when people are, in a coma or anything like that, they can hear you.
Right.
And so it was important for my husband and I that everything that we said from the first moment we stepped in that room was life.
Yes.
That's all we spoke over him.
Yes.
And so we FaceTimed our family who was still downstairs in the waiting room and allowed them to be able to see him via FaceTime and to say that they loved him and, fight Jameer and all of that stuff. And the doctor said, "Well, ma'am, at this point, he's just resting right now. You can go home and get some rest so that tomorrow, we will start whatever's next." And I remember thinking, like, rest? Who's resting right now? Right? Who's resting? But needless to say, we all left the hospital and we went home. And I just remember just laying in the bed all night, just waiting for daylight to break so that I could go back to the hospital. And daylight came very quickly. Our phone started ringing at probably 6 a.m. because it was time for Jameer to go back into surgery. And so they needed to get my consent for the surgery. And for every surgery that would happen thereafter, I would have to give consent for each individual surgery. And so they were taking him in to do the next surgery. He ended up within the first 24 hours having 4 surgeries. So we get to the hospital now, and the chief surgeon comes to speak to us, and he begins to read all of the injuries that Jameer has. And so Jameer has a collapsed lung. He has a C2 vertebrae fracture. He has shattered his pelvic ring. He has an aortic valve fracture. He has a grade 4 kidney laceration. He has a pancreatic laceration, a bilateral laceration. He has a left orbital fracture in his face. He has a brain injury. He has kidneys, a kidney infection. And the doctor says, "We're not sure if he's going to make it." This
is a head to toe read. I mean,
head to toe.
Head to toe. They start at the top. They start going through injuries. What's going on? The things on the outside, the things on the inside. They are naming things that even one of these could take someone's life. Even 2 of these could have them gone any moment. And they're naming thing after thing after thing. They're literally going down your son's body, naming things that could cause him to not live, to never be the same, to maybe never walk again, to maybe never talk again. I mean, they're going through things that you don't know, or a parent may not know what this may mean. They may live and not have anywhere near the quality of life as people often fear.
Right.
So as he's going through this again, at that moment, were you saying, okay, he may live, but he may never be the same? Did you start to try to wrap your mind around that, or did you believe he's going to live and he's going to be my son 100% the way he was before?
At that moment, I knew that I couldn't do this by myself. And so I posted on Facebook with the doctor in front of me. Through tears, I posted, "My baby is fighting for his life. I need y'all to bombard heaven on his behalf.
Yes.
I need him to fight." That was my post.
I remember
because
that.
I knew that for Jameer to live, we were going to have to pull on the Lord. This was not in the doctor's hands. They had already kind of given up. Like, damn, I don't know. This doesn't look good. So I was not about to put my faith completely into the hands of the medical professionals. I was calling on the prayer warriors.
Yes.
The ones that know how to get a prayer through. And so in that moment, that was the moment that I started to share this journey publicly on Facebook and on Instagram, because I knew that I couldn't do it alone. I have very strong women who know how to pray in my family and in my circle. But this needed a community of people,
Yes.
because what we looked at on paper said death.
Mm.
That's what it said.
Wow.
But I had already petitioned the Lord the day before
All right.
and said, death is not an option.
Right.
So we got to figure this out, God. We got to figure this out. And at this point, I will take him however you give him back to me.
All right. Okay.
Whatever that looks like, God,
Okay.
I will take him in that condition. I just want my son back. And so in that same day, Josh and I had to have a very serious conversation. And this conversation really was about, okay, we clearly have a long road ahead of us. We need to make some practical decisions as a family as to how we are going to get through this. And so we decided that I would handle hospital, Jameer decisions. I wasn't going to go back to work. This was going to be what I did full time. And my husband, Josh, was going to go back to work, and he was going to continue providing for our family. And that was going to be his main focus.
Wow.
I would make decisions and I would report back to him. And that is what we are going to do.
Sana. The strength to say to your husband, you're strong, the person you're going to lean on, the person who can wrap their arms around you like no one else. I know there was family and there were friends and there were people around. To say to your husband, and this is a practical thing that many people go through in moments like this, you're going to go back to work. You're going to go do what you have to do. You're going to continue to provide so that I can be here. And decisions are going to have to be made. And I can't look at my person and say, what do we do? What is best? You're a mother. You're hurting. You're believing, but there's some just natural fear. There's just some feeling of just discomfort, disdain, frustration, and knowing day after day that those moments would continue to come and that your husband wasn't going to be there. So what did you do to muster the strength to continue forward? Not that he didn't come back and not that he was never there, but to know that there were going to be moments where you were going to have to do that alone. What was your process of thinking, I'm going to be okay, I'll be able to do this? How were you able to do it?
For me, this wasn't something new, right? I was a single mom before I met my husband. It was just me and Jameer. So I had made decisions for him before.
Right.
I had done this. Single moms are super moms. Like we do things that we don't know where they come from, right? There is this spirit that rises up in us and we just get it done. That's what single moms do. And so in that moment, with the blessing of my husband saying, I trust your decision making. I know that you're going to do what's best for our son and our family. Okay, babe, I got this. I'm going to work. You handle this and we're going to get through this. And so that's what we did. And we pulled on our family. And that was a big thing for me because I had come to a point after being in foster care that family was kind of like, family, because I didn't have a secure type of like family for me. Like I didn't value it. But when I tell you that my family stepped up in ways that I cannot ever even imagine through this process, like they were there every single step of the way, every day. I didn't have to worry about a thing. My friends, my best friends, my circle, they were here. Like I would come home and my house would be clean. Like, you like they were there.
Wow.
My daughter was home, who is 13 and could not come to the hospital because of COVID and because
Wow.
she was in the ICU. So she went this entire time not being able to see her brother. But my cousin, who we were raised like sisters, basically became her mother and just took over and
Mm.
made sure she was safe. So I didn't have to worry about her. And so because my family and my friends took over those little things, like it wasn't, Sana, what do you need? It was, we're doing this.
Mm.
That was it. We got this. We're handling this. I didn't have to worry about those things. And so it was easy for me to focus on what I needed to focus on, which was making decisions. And a lot of the surgeries were like, we need an answer right now.
Mm.
Like, no, you don't get an hour to pray or to think or whatever. And so every day I woke up like, God, I need you to take control. Whatever you say happens today is what needs to happen.
Yes.
And so in those first few days, I mean, Jameer went through surgery after surgery after surgery. Some days he would have 2 and 3 surgeries a day.
Mm.
Like they would literally be briefing me on, what happened in one surgery. And then the surgeon from the next team would be calling me saying, we need consent for the next surgery.
Ooh.
Like that's how many, it was surgery after surgery after surgery.
Mm.
And so, I was constantly making decisions. And the same way you guys were getting updated was the same way Josh was getting updated.
Wow.
Like at the same time, because the decisions had to be made so quick. I couldn't call Josh and say, well, babe, they want to know. There were moments when I could do that, but a lot of the times it was, he gets the update like everybody else gets the update because things were moving so quickly.
Yes.
And so, he was having all these surgeries. So finally, we get to the point where we're probably on like the end of the first week. And I woke up one morning and I was looking at my wall and I have a painting on my wall that says, live your faith.
Live your faith.
Live your faith. And so I sat there and I said, well, my faith says that my son is coming home.
Yes.
So I need to start preparing for my son to come home.
Ooh, yes. Yes.
We're in the first week. I start buying him clothes for rehab. Buying things that he's going to need for rehab. I'm ordering things for his bedroom that I know he will need. I'm making sure that we do what we need to do to have bars put in or whatever, because this is what he's going to need when he comes home. I'm calling the hospital asking, who do I talk to about rehab centers? And the hospital is looking at me like, ma'am, we don't even know if your son is going to make it. Like, we're not there yet. And I said, oh, no, he's going to make it. So I need to know, what rehabs do you guys use? And I started making appointments to visit rehab centers because my son is coming home. So we need to not get ready. We need to be ready. For when he comes home. And so at the same time, we're going through all these surgeries and all this stuff. So now we get to, what is it? Day 9. Day 9 happens to be a very pivotal time for our family because Jameer's best friend, who was also in the accident, did not survive. And so
now this is, Sana, this is not, your son has friends, and his friend that he was in the car with, that he's been friends with for a long, long time. Now, and I want you to share this because I think it's important. You just said his best friend didn't survive. This is a huge part of the story. But I also want to rewind back to live your faith. And I see people putting it in the comments. Please type live your faith in the comments right now if you believe that you can live your faith out. Faith is, see, what you did was you went from this theological, hopeful faith to what faith really is. Faith is the substance. The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not. The substance is the plan. We have to live it out. We have to come up with a plan. We have to write a vision and make it plain. We have to call rehab centers so we can get the vision of what it would look like. If you don't know what it looks like, go try to see it. Like you can go see it. Go see what it looks like. So you can make a plan. I often think the scripture should say write the vision and make a plan as much as it said write the vision and make it plain, because people don't plan for the success they say they want. People don't plan for the marriage they say they want. They don't plan for the children they say they want. They don't plan for, they're not planning for it. They're just hoping for it and hoping God is going to supernaturally do things that we could do. Like, we're super too. We have some power in us too. By the power that works in us, we can do some things too. So I love that you decided to live your faith. Somebody out there needs to hear what she's saying, because somebody is sitting back at the bus stop waiting on God's bus to come pick them up. And God is like, no, get up and walk. Get up off your bed and walk. Get up and start actively doing something to get where you want to go. Stop waiting for me. God has often said to me, Lucas, stop waiting for me to do the miraculous when you won't do the practical. You won't do practical things that you could do right now, and you want me to supernaturally do everything. The miracle may be 10 steps down the road, but you won't get up off your bed and walk toward it, so you never see it. And then if it goes bad, you blame God. Is like, you blame me. Everybody says, well, God didn't want it, and God didn't do this, and God is like, the blessing was down the road. You didn't meet me at the blessing because you thought I was going to come by and Uber pick you up from where you were standing. I need you to walk forward as well. So you created a plan to live your faith. I love that. I love that. I love that. And I want you to be able to get back to the story. Your son's best friend was in the car with him, and he didn't survive the crash. How did you find that out? What was that like?
We found that out the same time that we were in the emergency room. So we found out
day one
at the time, day one, that he did not survive. And that was tough because my son and his friends, there's a group of 7 of them that have been friends since 2nd grade. They are, we say they're best friends, but they are brothers and sisters, right? They're 3 girls and then the 4 boys, and they are brothers and sisters. Like, that's, and I mean, everything together. So our families, we all know each other, you know, they are very, very, very tight. And so this was devastating even for them because they are mourning the loss of a brother while cheering on the life of a brother.
Wow.
So it was very hard for our family. And when I say family, I include my son's friend group because that's what they are. They are family. So it was hard for our family. It was hard for our community here in Middletown because we're a small town. We're not extremely large. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's kids go to school with everybody. You play on all the sports teams, like, you know each other. And so this didn't just affect 1 or 2 families. This affected our entire community. And so we are now on day 9 where we have to lay to rest one of our family members. And Joshua is a reverend. So
your husband?
My husband is a reverend. His father is a bishop of a pretty large church here in Middletown.
Right.
It wasn't a question about who would deliver the eulogy.
Wow.
So while I was making decisions on the hospital and surgeries, Josh was preparing to deliver the eulogy of someone who's not just his son's best friend, but it's also like a son to him.
While his son is still fighting for his life, he's about to deliver this message to try to bring comfort and hope and light and love and the power of God to people who are grieving while he's still grieving.
Right. And while he's still grieving the loss of his brother.
Right.
Because it hasn't even been a month yet since his brother has passed. So we're going through all of this at one time. And so we both went to the funeral. Josh did the eulogy and I was there because there was no way I could not be there at all. I had to be there on behalf of my son. And because, again, this was like a son to me. So we were there. Jameer had surgery scheduled for that day. And in the middle of the funeral, I got a call from the hospital saying, we have to cancel the surgery because Jameer has pneumonia.
Wow.
And so
He's in a sedated state. Is that right? He's not even conscious.
He's not conscious. He does not know anything that is occurring. He has pneumonia. So I said, okay, I have to now go back into the funeral with a straight face, because right now, in this moment, this isn't about me and my son and his canceled surgery. This is about the life of his best friend and their family, and we need to be supportive for them. And so that's what I did. We went in. Josh did not even know the surgery was canceled until after everything, the day was done. And that's when I told him that the surgery was canceled. And so I leave the hospital that day and I leave the church that day from the funeral and I go directly to the hospital. And now when I get there, they're meeting me in the waiting room to tell me Jameer has COVID.
Wow.
So I'm saying, Jameer has COVID?
How
is it possible? He's in the hospital. He's in ICU. The only place he's been is the operating room. Like, how does he have COVID? And so they're like, well, ma'am, we're trying to figure it out. We have infectious control, handling it. We have all, this is going on, that's going on. Oh, but also he has a kidney infection.
Does he still have pneumonia? He has pneumonia,
COVID, and a kidney infection.
Wow.
In one thing.
And so this is all the day of the funeral, of his friend's funeral?
This is the day of the funeral. This is now we're going into the evening because the funeral has happened. I have left. Now we're back at the hospital. And I'm like, what? Like all of this. And then they say, we also want to see if we can use him for a study. A study? Like, I'm like going crazy. So I call, what I do is I reach out to my cousin who has a little bit more background when it comes to infectious disease and all this stuff. And so I'm like, listen, y'all got to talk to my cousin. I can't even make a decision on that. Can he be in a study? Why does he need, what is the use of a study? What is it? Like, I can't do that right now because you're also telling me my son has COVID. And if my son has COVID, does that mean I can't see my son for 2 weeks? Because now this is a real problem because there's no way I can't see my son for 2 weeks. So I pass them off to my cousin and she talks to them and she handles the whole study and the kidney infection and all that stuff. And I let her make that decision and she handles that. Meanwhile, I say, y'all gonna have to give me whatever protection I need because I'm going in that room to see my son.
Yes.
Like COVID, no COVID, I really don't care. Like I'm going to see my son. And so they were like, okay, we will make an exception. We will let you see your son. And so for the next 2 weeks after that, I went in there, I put on all of the gear and I was by my son's side because
there was no other option.
There's no option.
You stood in authority and said, first, you're telling the enemy, he's going to live and not die. Get behind me. Leave me alone. Life and death is in the power of our tongue. Life and death is in the power of our words. I love that you said this before, and we have to keep reiterating. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is about education, motivation, liberation. We want to teach you something in this story. We want to motivate you to change your life, change your mind, repent, think of things new in a new way, right? And then liberation. We want you to be free to be different. Even if everybody says you're crazy. Even if the doctors say you're crazy. Even if your family says you're crazy. Even if your professor says you're crazy. Even if your spouse and your kids and your neighbors. If everybody says you're crazy. If God says something, you have to be willing to stand in the authority of God. She walked in there and said, I'm his mother. I'm his covering. I'm the one who's going to bring healing. I'm the one who knows the master physician. I'm the one who needs to be there. So COVID or no COVID, I don't fear it. Because if I believe in the power of the blood that is in me, then I don't have to fear anything because I already have a blood transfusion. The power, Jesus wasn't walking around afraid of anybody's disease. Lepers touched him and they were whole. They were healed. Sick people who they were putting out of the city because they were sick and they didn't have PPE were touching him and becoming whole. So if the power that's working in me, then there's nothing that can stop me. So this is for somebody else out there right now who is so afraid of COVID, so afraid of sickness and illness, and you're constantly speaking death and you're watching the news and all they talk about is everybody dying. So you and your friends gather together. It says where 2 or 3 are gathered together, there will be a spirit in the midst. God said, where you gather together in my name, I'll be in the midst. But it never said that if you gather together in the name of death and destruction, that other spirits, death-giving spirits, won't be in the midst. They will. So be careful about who you gather with. Be careful about all the time you spend sitting around commiserating about everything wrong going on in your life and in the world. When your friends come to you to complain about everything that's going wrong, you better start bringing some light and love and God to that conversation, or else you're going to manifest what the destruction that you're seeing. You are actually giving faith to death and you're creating it. And then we go back and blame God. Don't do that. Sana, you walked in there in the power and authority of God and you said, 1, he's going to live and not die. 2, I'm going to see my son. I'm not afraid of anything. Give me what you got to give me so y'all feel good. But I'll go kiss my baby because I'd rather be sick with him than to not see him. And I'm not even fearful of sickness because God hasn't given me a spirit of fear. And I believe his healing power will sustain me and keep me in this moment. As you said in the beginning, you've been too faithful. You've walked too closely with God for him to forsake you now.
That's right. At this point, COVID ain't taking my baby out of here. Like we done had 6 surgeries by now.
Ooh.
COVID is not taking my baby out of here. And so we go through all of that for 2 weeks. And in the midst of this, he's still having surgeries, right? They canceled the surgery that would have been his last surgery. That day would have been his last surgery.
Wow.
That surgery would have been surgery number 10, his last one. They canceled the surgery because of COVID, because they didn't want to bring him back to the OR with COVID, right? And so I'm like, okay, all right, fine. So we go a couple days and Jameer's just kind of, at this point, his body is just resting because his intestines were literally sitting on top of his stomach for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because he had 30 pounds of extra fluid on his body that he was so swollen they couldn't close him up. So his intestines were sitting on top of his stomach in a bag. And that's how we saw him every day. You see the big lump of the intestine sitting on top of his stomach. And he is still sedated. He is on so much medicine, you would not believe it, the amount of medicine that he was on. And so we get now to a night, day 12, and I'm laying in the bed at like 10 something at night, and I get a call from the hospital. And they're saying, ma'am, we have to rush Jameer into emergency surgery because we see that he's developed an infection in his colon. And we just want you to know that more than likely we're going to have to put a colostomy bag. So now I'm like, what? I said, listen, my son cannot have a colostomy bag.
Because that's something that in theory is permanent.
Exactly. And when I'm asking her, is this temporary or is this permanent? She, of course, can't give me an answer because they don't want to be held to a statement.
Right.
So we don't know. We're going to give you the worst case scenario, but at this point, he's going to need a colostomy bag. And I start screaming. I'm home. I get up. I go to Jameer's bedroom. And I lay in his bed and I just start calling on God and I'm crying. And my sister-in-law was here with me that night because Josh was at work. So she stayed the night and she began to call my family to let them know what was going on. And my family started warring on my behalf and on Jameer's behalf, because at this point all I could do was scream and cry and, God, this cannot happen. And I just was losing my mind. But my family and my friends were picking up my slack.
Yes.
Where I was weak, they were strong.
Yes.
And so they began to war and they began to pray. And my aunt called me from North Carolina. She said, you don't have to say a word. Let me just speak. And she began to read scripture over my life, over Jameer's life. And she just read scripture. And so I'm waiting, right? Because I have to approve every surgery before they can do it. So although the doctor called and told me this is going to happen, I'm waiting for anesthesia to call me to give them permission to deliver anesthesia so they can start the surgery. So we get to an hour in, 2 hours in, 3 hours in, I haven't received a call. So I'm like, what is going on? So finally the phone rings. And it's the wee early morning of hours of the morning. And it's the doctor, the same doctor. And she calls and she says, ma'am, surgery's over. And I'm like, surgery's over? I didn't approve anesthesia, right? That's what I'm thinking. Like, how is surgery over? And she goes on to say, I just need to tell you that I was pleasantly surprised. I said, well, what does that mean? Well, when we got back in there, the colon was fine. There's no infection. Wow. I don't know what happened, but it looks like he won't need a colostomy bag and to fix. And I said, we know what happened.
Right.
That was the power of God. That was God healing him.
Yes.
And so that night to me was the Lord saying, I am in control.
Yes.
I work the miracles.
Right.
This is not just for you. This is for those doctors too. I'm going to leave them just as amazed and shocked as I am doing it for you. See, because they think they know it all, right? They got the people. They've seen it all. But I'm about to show them some things they never seen before.
Donna, tell them.
And so she's like, I don't know what happened, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I said, well, we are too. And we thank you very much, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sana. That is so important. Again, faith, 2 or 3 gather together. Here's what happens. And you and I talked about this. People allow the authority of an education, which is just people trying to figure out God. Science is just people trying to track, map, and measure what God has already done, right? So they're trying to figure it out, and they figured some things out. But there's a lot of stuff that we just have hypothesized, and we've seen it happen over and over. Not realizing, though, sometimes things happen over and over because we spoke it over and over. We manifested it over and over. You can't measure something that you created and say it's God. We can create these things. So doctors come into the room, and somebody else needs to hear this because somebody just got a bad diagnosis. Your mother, your father, somebody got a bad diagnosis, and you need to go tell them if they didn't see this episode that they better stop agreeing with everything the doctor says. I'm not saying be reckless in your life, but I'm saying stop just coming into agreement because 2 or 3 gathered together manifest things. So the doctor walks in the room, gives you a terrible report, and we believe the report of the doctor more than the report of the Lord. Who told us that? Who told us that was a good idea? We surrender ourselves. We say, Lord, I surrender all. But what we really do is we surrender all to the doctors and the nurses. And there's some amazing doctors, nurses, and physicians probably watching this right now. I'm not talking about you unless it's you. If you're believing that God is not able to override what you read in a book or what they saw in a study, you got to get out of the way too, because God is able to override all of that. But first, we have to believe. You didn't let what the doctor said manifest because you blocked it. You said, no, I don't accept that. We're not having that. Your family said we're not having that. And you put your colostomy bags back because we're not doing that. And the master physician, just with the touch, just with our words, can go in and do surgery just by us speaking life out of our mouth. Is that what happened in your case?
That's what happened. Cleared him completely up. And so, because of all of that, it brought on 3 extra surgeries to Jameer's abdomen that technically he didn't need, right? But they were going in. They got to clear this, do this. This is what the X-rays are showing. This is what the CAT scan is showing. This is what the ultrasound is showing. And God's saying, nope, let me show you what I am. And
Yes.
so he did it. And so, we start to we get through that, and then finally he has the last surgery.
Mm.
He has the last surgery. It's to repair the left side of his pelvis now. He's closed up his abdomen. Pelvis is done. And I remember saying to to the surgeon, I said, listen now, I need you to make sure that this is my son's last surgery. I need you to treat him like he was your son on that table.
Mm.
And he said, I will do my very best, ma'am. And it took a few hours, but Jameer came out of that surgery and he was, all fixed up. He was good. Surgery's done. I'm like, all right. So now I'm saying to the teams, what's next? What we doing next? Because if all the surgeries are done, I need my son to wake up.
Right.
He needs to wake up now. And so they're saying, well, Sana, look, it's not that simple, ma'am. He's been sedated all this time. He's on all these medications. It's not safe for us to just start unsedating him. Like there's a process and we have to wean him and this and that and all this stuff. And I said, listen, I know my son.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for him to wake up.
Yes.
And he can handle being weaned off these pain meds. Because in the back of my mind, I'm also nervous about him coming out of this and being addicted to pain meds.
Wow.
And so I had to call on a couple of my pastor mentors who have had similar situations or work in the healthcare field to say, like, what are the odds? What happens? How does this work? And they're like, Sana, don't worry about the pain meds. Don't worry about him being addicted. Right now, he's in so much pain. He needs those meds. And I'm like, okay, but he needs to wake up. And so I started challenging the doctors.
Wow.
I need y'all to come down off of these pain meds. Come down off of the pain meds. So they're saying, well, in order for us to do that, we need to get him off the ventilator because he's still on the vent at this point. I'm saying, okay, so what needs to happen? Well, we're going to have to put a trach in him. A trach? Oh, no.
Right.
I said, no, we're not doing trachs. We're not. I mean, now this was the day that the hospital got to meet Sana Cotton. Okay. Because I was not playing. I was livid. I'm like, y'all knew 2 weeks ago he was going to need a trach. You should have brought this up 2 weeks ago. You should not have waited till I don't have time to make a decision to decide the trach. Like, y'all putting my back against the wall, and I don't like that.
Right.
And so, now I have to make this decision. I'm calling Josh because this is a big thing.
Right.
Like, now he's 19 because he celebrated his 19th birthday in the hospital.
Right.
So now you're telling me my 19-year-old is going to have a trach and you can't tell me if it's going to be permanent or temporary or what. And I'm making decisions for my son because he's going to wake up and I'm going to have to answer to the decisions that I made.
Right.
And so I was very upset. And so I called on my pastor friends who are in healthcare, and Josh and I, we talked to different people. Is this a good idea? What do we do? And they're like, just Sana, go ahead. This is the best course of action. And so I gave my permission, but when I tell you, I cried for days after giving my permission because I just felt like I had made the worst decision in my life as a mother. Wow. And I was so hurt. And they went ahead and they did the trach. And I said, all right, we've done this. So now wean him off the meds. And so they're like, well, this is going to take time. It's a no. Wean him off the meds.
Yes. Authority.
And so they started, now by this time, my aunt flies in from North Carolina and surprises me because now I have my Queen's Court event that I was like, I can't cancel. So in the midst of
Queen's Court, for those who don't know, help us understand what Queen's Court is.
Queen's Court is an event that I do for women every year. It's a luncheon, and it's really to encourage women that work in ministry and business. And it falls in July. I'm not canceling it because I just can't.
Right.
The theme of it this year is about my father's business. And so, I mean, at this point, if this ain't about my father's business, then I don't know what is.
Right.
So I have to go through with this. And so we have the Queen's Court event. We go through all of that. My aunt flies in. She ends up staying with me for the whole week. And so now I have backup in the hospital. So now we both in the hospital all day, right? And so it wasn't now just me, questioning the doctors. Now my aunt is with me. So she questioning, she applying pressure. And we watching like a hawk every machine. Like, y'all better not raise it by 1%, not 1%. I better not I had those machines memorized.
Wow.
Like, if I saw that they moved it one time, I need to speak to the head surgeon. What is going on here? Why are you doing this? Because I needed Jameer to be unsedated so he could begin to wake up.
Yes.
And they're telling me, ma'am, we need to prepare you. He's not going to be the same person that he was. He suffered brain damage, and we don't know how that's going to show up. And so I went and I bought a little whiteboard and a dry erase marker, because when my son wake up, he gonna write whatever he write. And so they're looking at me like, we don't think you're gonna need that. Oh no, we need this, because he's gonna wake up and he's gonna be able to write.
Yes.
And they were like, no, he's not. And so as Jameer began to wake up from the sedation, he's waking up more and more every day. They're weaning him off the pain meds more and more every day. So now he's awake. And at this point, they've had him restrained to the bed. They got these big old gloves on him. They got these big old boots on his feet. And my husband came in and he said, take those boots off of him. They're like, well, sir, we need it. The circulation in his feet and all this stuff. My husband said, no, I work at a hospital. I see what them boots do. Take them off. They will actually begin to change the way his foot is structured. Wow. Take them off. And so we went through a few people of them telling us what they think is better. My husband was like, nope, take them off. And so they took the boots off. So then I said, I need the gloves off of him. Like, I need him unrestrained. Right. Well, ma'am, he's going to pull this and that. I said, no. I began to talk to Jameer. Now, Jameer is suffering from delirium, like a severe case of delirium, because he's been in the ICU now for 30 days. Wow. And so he is there, but when I'm looking at him in his eyes, he's not there. Like, he does not know who I am.
Right.
He's
conscious but unconscious. He's not fully back to his conscious mind.
Exactly. And so I'm talking to him and I'm giving him commands, and the doctors are like, well, he's not going to respond to you. He's not going to answer. And I'm saying, no, he's going to answer.
Yes.
And he's going to answer. And so one day I came in and I played this voice recording that his aunt has sent me weeks ago. And I played the voice recording and he started to cry. And I looked at him and I said, Jameer, I said, do you hear me? Do you know who that is? And he shook his head, yes. And I started shouting in the room.
Wow, yes.
In the room. And Josh was outside the door talking to the doctors, and I called them in and I said, he hears. He knows who this is. He knows this is his aunt. He recognizes her voice. That, for me, was enough. Like, my baby's in there. Y'all don't know who's in there, but he's in there.
Yes.
So I start talking to him every day, and now the gloves are coming off. They're unrestraining him. He's starting to wake up more. I'm giving him the board to write. And at first he would start writing and then he would fall asleep because he was still sedated, kind of. And so he would fall asleep and I'd be like, that's okay. He can at least grip the pen.
Yeah.
That right there is progress.
Yes.
And so we get through all of that. And finally, Jameer, I come in one day and I ring the doorbell to go in and they tell me, hold on a second, we'll be right with you. And so the doctors come out and they said, well, Jameer's in there with physical therapy. And I said, physical therapy? They're like, yeah, we got him out the bed today. What?
Wow.
Y'all got him out the bed?
Woo! My son, who was still supposed to be sedated because your machines were reading that he was in pain and we couldn't take him off the sedation and all that. Now my son is in therapy?
Now he's in the physical therapy is there.
Right.
So they're like, so I go in the room and my baby was sitting in a chair. I said, what is happening?
Wow.
Like, what is happening? And he's looking at me. He has the trach in, but he's talking over the trach.
Wow.
Like he's trying to talk over the trach. So he's saying, Ma, what's happening? Why did they have these restraints on me? Like he didn't know what was going on. He literally thought that me and my husband had like put him in the hospital. Like he thought that he had did something so bad that we had him admitted to the hospital because he saw the restraints. And in the TV shows and the movies, when you go to the hospital after being arrested, you're restrained to the bed.
Whew.
Well, that's what he thought, that we had him, admitted to this hospital. And I'm saying, baby, you didn't do anything. You were in an accident, but you're okay.
Right.
You're not in trouble. You're okay. And he was so scared because he just didn't understand what was going on. And my husband said, we will tell you about the accident when you get home. We'll tell you everything when you get home. You just focus on healing right now.
Yes.
And so after the second day of him being awake and alert, I said to the doctors, so when do we move him to a regular room? Because he's awake and he's alert. And they're like, well, that's not safe yet. We gotta wait. I said, no, he's ready to go to a regular room. And so they're like, well, we'll talk about it. We'll see. So that night, I left the hospital and I cried the whole way home because now Jameer is awake and they're not letting me stay with him.
Oh.
I can't stay the night with him.
Right.
And he's scared.
Yes.
So I was crying because now I feel like, oh my God, it was one thing when he was sedated. He didn't know if I was there or not. But now he's awake and I need to be next to my baby.
Yes.
And so I said, God, I need you to do another miracle. I need them to allow me to stay with my baby in the midst of COVID precaution. I need to stay with my baby. That night, y'all, I kid you not, this is God. I get an email, inbox from this lady that I never met her. She inboxes me and she says, can you call me? I work for Hartford Healthcare. Can you call me? So I'm like, what? Now, at this point, I'm getting hundreds of messages a day. So the fact that I even saw her message was nobody but the Lord.
Right.
So I called. I'm like, well, why not? So I called her and she begins to tell me, I belong to this church that you spoke at a couple months ago. She said, and I work for Hartford Healthcare, which is the Hartford Healthcare is over Hartford Hospital, as well as other hospitals and stuff here in Connecticut. And she said, I've been following your son's story on your Facebook, and I realized that he was here in our hospital. And so, I wanted to reach out to you because, we would like to do a story on him. And I'm like, oh, okay, you want to, okay. So we begin to talk. And then she goes, is there anything that you need? Like, can we help? Is there anything you need?
Amazing.
And I said, I need y'all to let me stay with you.
Yes.
That's what I need. I know you got all these pro-COVID things going on, but I need to stay with my baby.
Yes.
She said, well, what I didn't mention is that I work for Hartford Healthcare, but I'm actually, I work very close to the president of Hartford Healthcare.
God.
So let me make some calls.
Let's go.
And I will get back to you tomorrow. And I said, okay. So the next morning comes and she calls me first thing in the morning. And she says, your son is going to be moved to a regular room today. And when you get to that regular room, they're going to tell you that you can stay. You
Wow.
don't have to worry about anything. You can stay.
Woo.
I said, okay, thank you. So I get to the hospital. I'm excited because I know Jameer's moving today. And they sure enough, within an hour after I'm there, they moved him to a regular room. And the nurse comes in to meet us in the new room. And she's like, all this stuff. She's giving me the visiting hours, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I was told that I was going to be able to stay. So can you call your nurse manager and just let her know who he is? And she's like, okay. And she leaves and she comes back. She said, I was told that you can come and go as you please.
Wow. Favor.
Nobody but the Lord.
Favor.
Nobody but the Lord.
He's in control. He will change the hearts and minds of men. He will move people out of the way. He will part red seas. He will do the impossible. The impossible is possible. What's impossible for man is possible for God. And you trusted it. You believed it. You called on it. You petitioned for it. And God opened the door. Somebody who you spoke for at some point while you were serving the Lord, and you reap what you sowed. You sowed into people. Now this person is coming back and saying, how can I help you? You're like, I need to be with my son. They're like, we're going to move him to a room. We're going to open up doors. We're going to do things we don't normally do. And it happens every day to those who are faithful in following God. You are willing to speak life, believe it was possible. And again, God opened another door in the midst of a terrible trial that most people would have cursed God by now and walked away from God by now. You stayed steadfast with God. You trusted God. And he literally brought in an angel in the form of a person who was close to the president of this major hospital system to let you in.
Major. To let me stay. And so now we're in this regular room. And, I'm watching them slowly start to remove the tubes and all this stuff because Jameer had tubes coming from every which way, draining and pulling and putting back in and everything. And so now they're starting to remove different stuff, but his stomach was not working. It was like it was sleep.
Wow.
And so they're telling me, he still has a feeding tube. He has the trach. He's got this other tube that's pulling the fluid from his stomach, all this stuff. And so they're saying, listen, if his stomach don't start working, we're going to have to keep him here longer. And I'm like, he can't stay here. Like, he needs to go to rehab, right? Because I'm watching Jameer as the sedation is wearing off. My baby, it was like he was on the verge of a mental break. And I could hear it in his voice. And he was crying and he was begging me, Mom, I have to leave this hospital. I can't stay here another night. Wow. And to hear that in his voice, I said, oh, he has to go.
You got to get out of here.
You got to get out of here today.
All right.
And so I called our case manager and I said, what's going on with the rehab place? Because I had already chosen a rehab place, remember? Because I had got prepared.
Right.
So now rehab place, they know about him. They've been following him, all this stuff. I said, can you call the rehab place and see if they have a bed? And what are their procedures? Because he's got a feeding tube, he's got a trach, he's got all this stuff. Will they take him with all this stuff?
Right.
So the case manager calls the rehab place and the rehab place says, we'll take him.
Wow.
Send them like that. We'll take them with a trach. We'll take them with a feeding tube. We'll take them with the tube pulling the
fluids out.
We'll take them.
In the middle of COVID, when they're short-staffed, stressed out, struggling, they're going to take him.
We'll take him today, in fact.
Wow.
So I say to the doctors, okay, let's get him out of here. They're going to take him. The doctors are saying, no, we want to do one more procedure on him. We want to try to get the feeding tube out of his nose. We're going to put a feeding tube in his side so that he can be released. So I say, okay. So they take him down to do the feeding tube. They can't put the feeding tube in. So they bring him back up. Jameer is mad. He's frustrated. I'm frustrated. What is going on? They say, give us another 24 hours. I said, no, you don't have 24 hours.
Wow.
He's getting discharged today.
Today, yes.
They're like, well, ma'am, that's not going to happen. They call in the head doctor. Well, I requested the head doctor. The head doctor comes in. He gives me the whole, spiel on safety and, all this stuff. And I let him go through all that. And when he was done, I looked him in his face and I said, listen to me and listen to me well. You will discharge my son today, or I will pull every tube and disconnect him from every machine. I will put him on my back and I will carry him out of this hospital.
Wow.
We can
Authority.
do this the easy way, or we could do this the hard way. We're coming out of this hospital today. So now Josh is looking at me like, babe, is this not a good, babe, listen, now I know you want but listen, we got to do, he's kind of looking at me crazy. And I'm like, babe, Jameer's coming home. He needs to come out of this. He needs to get to rehab. And so the doctor comes back and he's like, well, we need to try. So what do? I call my contact again. I said, listen, these people are trying to tell me my son can't go to rehab today. I need y'all to call whoever you need to call and have them discharge my son today. Within 15 minutes, the vice president of the hospital was in Jameer's room. What do you need, ma'am? I said, I need my son to go home today.
Right.
I went on to say, I also don't like the way your doctor and his assistant spoke to me. Y'all need to fix that, because that's not, we're going to do the whole thing. Within a half hour, Jameer's nurse came in the room and said, the ambulance is on their way to take Jameer to rehab.
Yes. Authority. Again, walking in authority. Everybody who's listening to this story as a nice story, you're not in the right place. You accidentally stumbled into the wrong show. This show is education, motivation, get your motor going, get moving, and liberation. Be free. Go do something different. I'm not talking about walking to your job tomorrow and tell your boss off because you have authority. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about call your kid's father and go off because I'm talking about following God, listening to God, and walking in authority in these situations where we let people who are trying to figure out God, some of whom have totally denied God, try to tell us what God is doing. You can't tell me what God is doing. You don't even know him. Half these people don't even necessarily have a relationship with him. They are not the people they're not even a part of our community in the sense of they don't have common unity with us. They don't believe what we believe. They're not our family. They're not people we can say we're connected to. They're not people who would be a covering. They're not parents and godparents and true family as it is described in the scripture. These are not the people. You wouldn't let these people in the scripture. They would not let these people touch their family. They'd be like, you're from another village. You're from another place. We are not walking in agreement. You can't touch my child. But we live in a world now with hospitals and hospital systems, and we try to lean into these places that we believe are going to help us. And I'm not against the hospital and the doctors and nurses. There are phenomenal people. There are phenomenal believers. I know some, my very closest family members, all of my family, all the women in my family are nurses and men too. Okay. But when we get so tied up on what the book said, the book of the people who for thousands of years have been trying to figure out who God is, instead of the people who were studying the book where God told us who he was, and the people who are leaning into God to get him to tell them mouth to mouth, face to face who he is, those are the people I got to talk to. Not these people who have tried to become physicians who are trying to measure a God they don't even know. You don't know him. I know him better than you know him. So I'm going to listen to what the master physician said. And how about I tell you what we about to do? How about I tell you what my son is going to do? They call it power of attorney is a legal thing. I have the power of authority in God is what I really have. And you got to move out of my way because like you said, I'll pull all your little plugs and cords and stuff out, and I'll carry my son out of here and dare you to stop me. What are you going to do?
And that was it.
Yes.
And my Jameer looked at me. He said, Mom, I appreciate you so much. I just appreciate you. And I said, you're going home. And see, this was a lesson for Jameer too. We trust the Lord.
Yes.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
This is you viewing it for yourself. We trust the Lord. That's it.
Mm.
That's it.
Yes, that's it. What else is
It.
there? That's it.
And so we respect your position, but
Yeah.
we don't respect your opinion.
Whew,
That's
say that again, Sana.
We respect your position, but we do not respect your opinion.
Whew.
I don't receive
Yes.
that. I receive
The
that
report
Jameer-
of the Lord. I received the report of the Lord over your little notebook, notepad, tablet. You received the report of the Lord.
And so Jameer, we got out of there and we got to rehab. And when I tell y'all, the very next day, so we got to rehab about 7:00 that night. The next morning, Jameer was eating for the first time. The hospital did not want to give him food. They had him only doing ice chips. You know, my baby was like, Mom, I'm hungry. These people haven't fed me, because he doesn't realize he's got a feeding tube, right? So he's getting nutrients
Right.
the way he needs, but he's not eating.
Right.
He's hungry. And so the next day, the rehab is feeding him food. Jameer is eating the food. No issue. The very next day, I said it was only God that did not allow them to put that feeding tube in his side.
Wow.
That was God.
Yes.
I was angry when they couldn't do it, because I thought that meant he couldn't go home. The Lord said, my son does not need that.
Yes.
Let me show you something.
Yes.
So it can't go in. Y'all did all these ultrasounds. You pinpointed where it was going to go. You got him down there. You got him under anesthesia, and it couldn't even go in.
And God said no.
24 hours later, the boy was eating on his own. Feeding himself on his own for the first time.
Incredible.
It hasn't stopped since. Has not stopped since. So you can't tell me who my God is. And we got to that rehab, and I gave them the same spiel. Y'all got 2 weeks with my son. Do what you need to do for 2 weeks. On the 14th of August, he's going home.
One way or another.
Whether he walking or not, whether he got a trach, y'all figure out the training I need. You figure out how the medicine he got to have. Show me what I got to do. But in 2 weeks, he's going home. I put a countdown on Jameer's wall every day. The people will come in and they said, well, we don't know where you got that day from. Jameer, my mom, we're going home in 2 weeks.
Right.
2 weeks. You know, he had a collar on him because he had a fracture in his vertebrae, and they were scared that he might be paralyzed. So they kept the collar on him this whole time. He's got a collar on. Nobody would remove it. Everybody was scared to remove the collar, right? And they're telling me, well, he can't go home if he got a collar, because we can't remove the trach if he has the collar on. I'm saying, y'all better figure it out. This
or
gonna
I'm
be
taking it off too.
Because he's going home.
Right.
Like, I don't know what part of that y'all don't get, but you're gonna learn today.
Right.
So they made an appointment for him to go to his surgeon.
Yes.
We get to the surgeon. The surgeon walks in the office. He said, hey, Jameer, how you doing? Jameer said, I'm good. He took the collar off and threw it on the floor and said, you don't need that. Did not even
check
look
anything.
Just took the collar off, threw it on the floor, and said, you don't need that. Why do you still have that on? You don't need that.
Wow.
And took it off.
God, again.
I said, do we need a follow-up? He said, no, you're done. You don't need a follow-up. All right, thank you. See you later. And we left. The ambulance people that brought him there was like, this is the shortest doctor's appointment we've ever been to. Right.
Wow.
Then he came back to the rehab place after that. They took the trach right out immediately. 3 days later, my son was walking not walking. He was being wheeled out of the rehab and going home.
Sana, for anybody out there who's not following Sana, don't leave right now. But Sana Latrice, after this, you guys have got to go follow her. This is not the only amazing thing that God has done in her life. You're going to have to go back and see the stories from before. She was on my show before. You can go watch that. She's been on other shows. She's been on with Willie Moe Jr. and so many other great people. And she has so much more to do. She's written a book. Everyone will know that it was God was the hashtag that God gave her years ago. Everyone will know that it was God. Somebody has to put that in the comments. Everyone will know that it was God. Remember when Lazarus died and Jesus said, I'm glad he's dead. Who says that about their friend? I'm glad he's dead. That the glory of God could be made known to man. You guys are going to see that I am the resurrection. I am life. I am the way. I am all of that. The power of God is in me, and I'm about to go up here and wake my friend up. He's just asleep. No, he's been in the tomb. His body it stinks. No, 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 no. I am the resurrection. I am power. I am life. You walked in here and said, no, no, no. I represent God. I am life for my son. I am resurrection. Resurrection power is in me. We getting out of here. We fixing stuff. We changing stuff. I reject your report. I don't believe what you're saying to me. I trust God. Somebody out there got to do that with their job, their marriage, their family, their friends. Somebody out there is struggling with something so much smaller and you can't sleep at night because you're just petrified. You're fearful, which God didn't give you a spirit of fear. So anybody out there who has fear, don't say God gave it to you for some reason because he wants to take you through stuff. No, he doesn't. He's not trying to make you afraid. We go through stuff and God engages the stuff we go through to bring us out. We blame God. God is the paramedic and we blame him like he's the one who caused the problem. That's how we treat God. God is not causing the problem. God is saving us from the problem. He is salvation from the problem. He is healing in the midst of the mess. He is providing space and safety for us in whatever we go through. Somebody out there has to get this. Sana could not have laid this out any better for somebody who's doubting, who's struggling with their faith. Don't tell me I don't have faith like Sana. I don't believe. Please, it's possible. If you don't have it, go seek God. He'll give it to you. You'll build it as you build a relationship with him. You'll become able to rely on him once you spend more time with him and you try him and see that he is the same faithful God that he was to Sana. He wants to be that same faithful God to you. But the question is, not is God faithful to you? Are you faithful to God? Sana was able to cash in based on heavenly currency that she stored up in heaven because she's been faithfully serving God. So when it was time to cash it in, like, God, I need some stuff, he's like, you have a whole inheritance. You're in my kingdom. Let's go. Whatever you need, I will provide. Somebody has to lean in and trust that God wants to do that for them today. I don't want you guys to go anywhere. Sana, I don't know if Jameer is up for it, but I want us to consider if he's willing to wave and say hello. Oh, wait, he's right here. Jameer. We have Jameer Hamilton right here. How you feeling today, Jameer?
I'm doing good.
Doing good. Thank you so much, everybody. He's peeking in real quick. He said he wasn't doing a whole press interview today, but he is alive and well today. If you're on Facebook, hit those hearts, hit those likes, show some love. Anybody out there who prayed for him, petitioned for him, let him know in the comments. He can go back and watch them. Send them your love even right now. Jameer, we are so amazed at what God has done for you. We are so amazed at you. We're so proud of you, and we're so excited about what God has for you in your future, Jameer. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Sana, how's it feel to have your son right there with you?
It feels great to have my son here with me, but I will be honest with you guys. This journey is, for me, I feel like it's just starting.
Yeah.
Because part of everything that happened, like, it was supernatural. So I feel like I wasn't even in myself. That it was literally Holy Spirit that got me through all of that.
Yeah.
And so now, as I am coming back to myself, it is hitting me what our family has endured over the last 2 months, 3 months. And it's crazy because my husband prayed over Jameer in the hospital that he would have no memory of the accident, that he would remember nothing, that he would remember no pain, none of that. And Jameer has no memory of the accident. He does not remember even leaving the house. So while that is a blessing, it is also very tough because now we are charged with telling him his story. He has the scars that prove the story.
Yes.
But he does not know the story. And so mentally trying to process that for him is tough while mourning the loss of his brother. at the same time. And it's been emotional in this house, and I thank God for, again, our friends and our family who has been here even still every single day as we have walked this thing out. There's literally not a day when somebody's not here with him or just with us and just trying to help us get through this. For me personally, when people ask, how are you? I said to Josh yesterday, I said, I don't know about Jameer, but I need therapy.
Wow.
Because I went to a birthday a celebration yesterday for my friend who just became a registered nurse. And so one of the party favors they had on the table was this pen, but the pen was in the shape of like a needle, right? Because she's a nurse. So it looked like a needle, an injection needle. I saw the pen and got a little bit of a panic attack because I thought it was a needle. Wow. And I've watched all these days my son get poked and prodded, and even now he still has to receive meds through needles. But I realize that I have anxiety and that I go to sleep at night, but I'm scared that someone's going to knock on my door again and tell me that there was an accident. And so I am running back and forth to my son's room and to my daughter's room and making sure that they are breathing because I'm still believing that he's home, that the devil didn't win. The enemy didn't win. He's home, Sana. You can breathe. But these are real. And I'm sharing this with you guys because as strong as everyone has said, you are so strong. You are so strong. There's a part of me, a big part of me, that doesn't feel that strong, who feels stuck on June 22nd.
Wow.
And so now that God has done it for Jameer, I need him to do it for me.
Yes.
Because there's so much more work that I have to do. I don't have time for the enemy to use my mind as a battlefield. And so when you ask, how can we help you? I don't need you to bring me a dish. I need you to call my name out in prayer. Because I don't wish this type of tragedy or this experience on anybody. On anybody. And my friend said to me the other day, she said, Sana, this is more your process than it was Jameer's. Because Jameer don't know anything that happened. And eventually he will. But this was the Lord stretching me. This was the Lord pruning me as a mother and as a wife and as a servant. This was the Lord saying, you have to get back in position. You've started businesses and you've done all these different things, but I need you at home as a wife, handling your first ministry.
Wow.
So unfortunately, we've had to go through this whirlwind for me to wake up and realize how valuable family is. To realize how much I am needed here in my home. To realize that, yes, I'm a good wife, but I can be so much better. To realize that, yes, I love my children and they've been taken care of, but they need a different version of me.
Wow.
So this was my process.
Yes.
I'm owning that. And I am laying before the Lord daily, asking him to continue to do the work in me, because I do not want to miss what God has for my family. I don't want to miss what God has for me and for the people that are assigned to me. I don't want to miss it. I don't want to do a disservice. I want to give you everything that I have. So when I leave this earth, the Lord will say, well done, thy good and faithful servant.
Sana, we thank you so much for your openness, for your transparency, for your amazing storytelling ability today. I can't imagine a better person to tell the story. Had someone else gone through the story, you're such a great storyteller, you could tell the story, but you've gone through it and you're able to talk to people about this. I know this isn't the last time that you're going to have the opportunity to share this story. Everybody, make sure you guys follow her on social media. She lives her life to show people the goodness of God. She lives her life so everyone will know that it was God. Sana, thank you for opening up. Thank you for your vulnerability when I reached out to you. You know, you and I connected over a year ago. We've remained connected. You've connected with my wife, Corinne, and we are like-minded people. And then I found out you were a She Wins sister, and I shout out to the women of She Wins Society. I love them so much and so grateful for them and Andromeda and all the work that they're doing. And now for you to come here and to share this story. When I reached out to you, I thought, I was watching and I thought, she's telling this story because God is telling her to. I have a platform. I want to help her tell the story more. Let me ask at the right time and not be insensitive. And this was about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And I reached out to you and I said, Sana, I don't mean to be too forward, but I've seen the story. We've been praying for you, praying with you. I see your son is home. Whenever you're ready, I'd love for you to come on Lucas Live and tell your story. And you said, Lucas, I'll be ready in the next 2 weeks. Just let me know. We can make this work. And here we are already here with you telling this story, changing lives. Somebody out there, I pray that their life has changed. We're going to land this plane, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have sat with us for 2 hours. If you're watching this by replay, we thank you. If you watched us live, thank you. If you missed the beginning and you tuned in an hour in the middle of it after the first hour, please go back and watch this. We're at Lucas Live Media on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We're at Lucas Tyndale on LinkedIn. Check us out. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We have other great stories, other great guests from the past. We had Sana. Go back and watch Sana's episode from last year and have your whole mind changed by watching that. And then watch this one again. Sana, any parting words to our audience here this evening?
The only thing I would say is when you are faced with pain and trials, do your best to find the purpose in it. For me to share the story with all of you publicly as it was going, that was for you. That was for somebody who needed to know the power of God and needed to know who God was. But it was also for me to be able to show my son and my daughter this same God that I serve.
Yes.
And so I want to say, own your story, tell your story, share your story. Don't be ashamed of it, and realize that you only have a story so that God can get the glory. That's it.
I love it. I can hear God saying, well done, thy good and faithful daughter. You are in the house of God. You are in the covering of God. He's wrapped his arms around you. He's kept you and your family. Thank you all. The Cash App, Sana's Cash App and her son's Cash App have been shared in the comments. If you guys want to bless their family in any way, please feel free. Reach out to them, ask them, or just bless them. You know, sometimes we ask for things that we know we can do. She said, call her name out in prayer. Go to God on their behalf as she continues to recover from what she's gone through. We hope all of you guys have enjoyed today's show. We thank you for your engagement. We thank you for your participation in the show. This is a show where you can be a part of the show by engaging in the comments. We thank you. We love you. We appreciate you all. We'll see you guys next time on Lucas Live. Sana, it's been my absolute pleasure to be here with you this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you.
Love you too. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.